In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Derivations module to do derivations. So we look at choose a module, we find the derivation module, it's the first one, so we'll click on that, that'll open up. Might take a second or two longer to open up for you. I've set this up so it opens quickly, but give it time. When it opens, you'll find the problem you want to do for your homework. I'm going to just do this problem here at the end. So here's our problem. Now, so we have the problem loaded, but here's the name of the problem, and then we have it's repeated here. So the first thing you want to do is put the cursor here and hit enter, and that will start generating lines. So put the click in this area and then hit enter. So here we have our number column, and then this column here is the formula or the sentence column. That's where the sentences will go. And this is the justification column. And then we'll see this last column is where you get any feedback. So the first thing we do is we would write show and then Q for the conclusion. And you'll see that the show turns into this white background here, and the only thing that's actually on the black background anymore is the Q, which is the sentence you're working with. Now, what's nice though is that we actually can do it very easily. We can say show, actually I'll show you that later. So yeah, we'll just write show Q. So that's our first step. Our next step is to add premises. So we could, so this argument has three premises. The premise, the sentence if T then P, the sentence T, and the sentence if P then Q. The conclusion is Q, and it's set off by those three dots we've talked about. And then there are these periods here, and the periods are what separate the different premises. So we actually have three premises. We have if T then P, we have T, and we have if P then Q. So we could write them out. We could say T, and then if we want to, we could put in a conditional, and if you right-click in here, or use a secondary click on your MacBook if it's set up for that, you can enter the arrow. And if you leave the mouse cursor over the icon, it will show you a keyboard command, so it's Control-Shift-C. So you could right-click here, get this, and then you could also put in the P. And then for justification, you'd hit PR. And at this point, you can think, is everything going okay? And if you weren't sure, you could click on the check button down here. And it says blank line, that's fine. There's no message here. Okay. Not yet canceled. That's right. It hasn't yet been canceled. We will cancel it. It says incomplete derivation because we're not done yet. So that all makes sense. Now, what's nice about one of the nice things about the derivation module is it provides you with that feedback. Another nice thing is what's called command mode. So instead of writing out the premise here, I can just write in the justification here. So say PR for premise in the justification column and hit enter. And then it asks you which one do you want. So let's put in the second premise. And we can do that again. We'll hit PR and hit enter. And now we'll put in the last premise, if P then Q. So there are three premises, if T then P, T, and if P then Q. And we want to enter all three of them, and we have. So we have all three of the premises, and we also have the show line, so we're done with the setup stage. So the next stage is to apply modus ponens, and eventually we get the conclusion, and then we'll box and cancel, but right now we want to apply modus ponens. So we look and we say, well, we have two conditionals. We have the conditional if T then P, and we have the conditional if P then Q. So can we do modus ponens with 4? Well, if we were going to, we would need the antecedent of 4 by itself on a line. And the antecedent of 4 is P, and we don't have P anywhere on a line by itself, so we cannot right now do modus ponens with line 4. But what about with line 2? With line 2, yes, we can, because the antecedent of line 2 is T, and we have T by itself on line 3. So we can apply modus ponens to lines 2 and 3. So we'll say 2, 3, MP, we hit enter, gives us P, which is the consequent of line 2. Good. So we've done modus ponens with line 2. We're looking to get to Q. So hopefully we're going to get to Q soon. So if we look at line 4, we say, aha, line 4 is a conditional. Can we do modus ponens with line 4? Well, if we're going to do modus ponens with line 4, we need its antecedent, and its antecedent is P. So if we have P anywhere, we can do modus ponens with if P then Q, and P wherever we have it. And we just got P, right? So we can do modus ponens with 4 and 5. 5 is the antecedent of line 4. So we'll say 4, 5, modus ponens, and we get Q. Okay, good. We have Q. And oh, Q is the conclusion. Q is what we're trying to show. So now we just need to say we've got what we're trying to show. And so we say that by saying we say 6, DD, which tells us that on line 6 we have the conclusion, we have what we were trying to show. We hit enter, and the derivation is boxed and canceled. And if we check it now, then it says blank line, which is fine. That's not a problem. It's not in red. It tells us it's a uniform derivation, uniform, whatever that means. Don't worry about it. What's important is it says it's a correct derivation. So this derivation is correct, and we are done. So we'll save it. You might need to delete a line at some point. So let's say you had an excess line in here that wasn't any good. Let's say we had Z for some reason, and you wanted to get rid of that line. And let's say you wanted to get rid of the blank lines too. You don't need to, but let's say you did. So one way to do is you can right-click here, and you choose Delete Line down here, and it deletes the line. And if you let the mouse hover here, it tells us that Alt-Delete will delete a line. If you're on a PC, Windows PC, that's straightforward. You just find the Alt key and Delete, and you press them together. If you're on a Mac, it's a little bit more complicated. If you look on the Mac, and you look on the bottom row, there's the space bar, and then to the left or the right of the space bar, you have the Command key, and then to the outside of the Command keys on either side of the space bar, you have the Option key. And if you look at the Option key, then there's an Alt written up in the upper right or left corner of that key. So if you just hold down that button, the Option button, and you press Delete, nothing happens. So what you have to do to delete a line with the keyboard as opposed to with that pop-up window is you hold down the Function key, which is all the way on the bottom, in the bottom left corner. It's Fn. So you hold down Fn, and then you hold down the Option key. So that's going to make it do Alt. When you hold down Function, it's telling it to do Alt when you hold down Option. So you hold down Function, and then Alt or Option, same key, and then you hit Delete, and then it will delete the lines for you. So that's how you delete a line, if you need to. So that's how we use the derivation module. You open up a problem. There's nothing there, so you put the cursor in here and you hit enter, and that will give you a line. And then the first line is a show line, and then you will enter the rest of, then you put in the premises, and you can use command mode. You just put in PR and hit enter for each line, for each of the premises. Make sure you put in all of them. If you don't put in all of them, you won't be able to finish the derivation. And then you just look to apply modus ponens. Again, by you write in the justification here and then hit enter. And then finally, you apply DD for direct derivation. And when you do that, you say it's on this line that I have the conclusion, and that will box the reasoning and cancel the derivation. And that's how you use the derivation module. And we'll be getting into more depth with that as we go forward, but that's what you need to know right now to complete your homework. So if you have any questions, please let me know.